And there we go. We are live. Well, good morning. Joining us this morning, and we invite you to join us on Sunday morning, the 24th. We will be at English we're at 9 o'clock still. Yep. At 9 o'clock, and at Our Savior's at 9 o'clock this week. So I haven't checked yet to see if they still have the indoor swimming pool installed at St. Olaf.
I don't know where they're at with that.
Yeah.
But
So
it was pouring in.
Sunday was exciting. Also, it was exciting to have everybody at Our Savior's.
I heard you
If
had
we
a
couldn't be
praise
outside.
crowd. Yeah, and a praise band.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it kept raining though. So yeah. Well, let us begin with a word of prayer. God of all creation, you reach out to call people of all nations to your kingdom as you gather disciples from near and far. Count us also among those who boldly confess your Son, Jesus Christ, as Lord. Amen. So our gospel is from Luke chapter 13, verses 10 through 17. Here Jesus heals a woman on the Sabbath, offering her a new beginning for her life. When challenged by a narrow reading of the Sabbath command, Jesus responds by expanding Sabbath work to including setting people free from bondage. So now Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. Just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." When he laid hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. But the leader of the synagogue, indignant because Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, kept saying to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which to work ought to be done. Come on those days and be cured, and not on the Sabbath day." But the Lord answered him and said, "You hypocrites! Does not each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his donkey from the manger and lead it to water? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan brought bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" When he said this, all his opponents were put to shame, and the entire crowd was rejoicing at all the wonderful things being done by him. The Gospel of our Lord. Yep, I'm glad we've changed from the "we've never done it that way before" mode.
Yeah, we should have. There's comfort in routine.
Here is.
And sometimes changing things up, there's a reason why you do it that way.
Yep.
It may not seem apparent at first until you try something different and then you have to go back to the old.
Way. Yep.
But at least you gave it a
You
shot,
Try. Yep.
you know. That's to be flexible. You can't, example of the vineyard. We loved going out there. I know how many people have said that's one of the
Oh yeah.
nicest times to be able to worship
Yeah.
out there. But when safety's a factor, you have to go to plan B.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
God's in charge, not us.
Boy, have we seen that with the weather.
Oh.
We're just driving into town with soup. It was just soup today.
It's hateful to have to drive that.
Yeah, I'm still glad we're here, not Marshall.
Why? What's in Marshall?
Well, they
It's
took tree damage on Saturday and then
Oh,
the
that
same
way.
flood damage
Oh,
on
that
Sunday.
way. Yeah. That's what
It's
you mean.
just,
It's
The
been a,
wind factor. Mhm.
it's been a rocky week up there.
Mhm.
yeah, I drove in on Saturday to pick up the bread, and I'm talking to my mom on the phone, and all of a sudden I look at the corn, and I have images of Joseph interpreting Pharaoh's dream of the 7 bad years of corn. Just got shredded by the wind and stuff.
We've been,
Yeah. Okay.
It can change though.
I know, that's the hard part.
absolutely.
Okay, well, Jesus is a practicing Jew, so it is not unusual for him to be teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. He was brought up to be faithful in his religious practice. So what is the significance of Jesus being a practicing Jew?
Well, he's going against what he was taught as a child. He is arguing about customs that have been part of his
Upbringing,
life. And now he's,
questioning them. But he has reason to, because they have been skewed from the human factor, have skewed
Yeah, I
it
think
off.
that's- yeah.
You know, it's a custom that has no meaning,
Yeah.
or the meaning is skewed.
I was gonna say, it's,
created.
for us, it'd be similar to looking at Martin Luther and going back to the original meaning versus all the man-made stuff we've
Mhm.
put in place to
Mm-hmm,
interpret it.
mm-hmm. And the indulgences that
Yeah.
were to pocket the lining
Thought
of
about
the.
getting one this year.
Hmm?
Thought about getting one this year, an indulgence. They were offering them at one of the churches we were at.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I still have
Where was
strong
that?
feelings
In
about
Canada.
that.
Canada.
Yeah.
A Catholic church.
Yeah, this is the year of it. This is a Jubilee year. And so there are certain churches around the world where if you go and visit, you do your confession and certain other acts.
Don't you have to be their church?
No, you don't have to be a member of their church, but you do have to be
Right.
Catholic, I'm assuming.
Right, right.
And then you receive an indulgence.
An indulgence was what exactly?
Basically, it is a special merit of grace that gives you, for Luther's time, it was years out of purgatory. It's basically a form of extra forgiveness.
Okay.
I know when, in the 70s, when my husband's family, they had some people married in that were Catholic, and they talk about how much money they had to give for a grandma, and she was a saint, but they owned a lot, so the church expected a lot from them,
Yeah.
even though, and it just, it just soured them about it's foreign to us,
It is.
and
It's a different understanding.
I just think,
So what do you know about honoring the Sabbath in the first century?
well, like Fiddler on the Roof is sundown to sunset, and you did very, very little.
And,
Did all your meal prep the day before?
and you could only walk so far.
Oh.
And even for Laura, they had to
yeah.
sit and read the Bible
Yeah.
or be quiet in the
A time of focus,
sitting room for,
Yeah.
time of focus.
which comes into what could or could not be done. Yeah, and anything that was considered work, which is, I know that's part of the reason they couldn't walk, and they didn't cook.
Yeah, the meals had to be done ahead.
Yeah.
On Saturday, or
So a woman appears in the synagogue, but does not ask for anything. She appears to do nothing in particular to attract the attention of Jesus, and not much is known about her. Yet her appearance catches the attention of Jesus. She has bent over and cannot stand upright. Her condition has lasted 18 years. It is not clear if her condition has caused internal complications. In a time when people did not live long, 18 years is a significant length for such a disease. Jesus calls her over and extends healing to her through his words of proclamation and his touch. Immediately, this woman stands up without delay. After suffering 18 years, this woman can look straight in front of her rather than at the floor. Without making a request or speaking a word, she is healed. This miracle of healing is grace upon grace. And so this woman praises God. Who else would be able to restore her health? Who else would be able to free her from binding illness? There is nothing to indicate this woman had a clue how her life would be changed on that day. Her transformation is remarkable and breathtaking. So describe the possibility of feelings experienced by the healed woman, and how might her life change after such a healing?
well, if she wasn't able to stand correctly, she's
Yeah.
obviously not going to probably be able to function and do much of anything. So, and by when people would see her, she would then, and I'm sure, have to say, well, Jesus, the healer. And so she would be spreading that good news.
The
Of what-
world opened up to her. She could see the world and
Yeah.
looking down all the time. Or if someone talked to her, twisting her neck, however, it would just be a whole new, it's like someone who's had eye surgery and all of a sudden they can
See everything.
see clearly.
Or even like you said, your knees, your hips, whatever, and then being able to really walk well.
Mobility.
Your
But you
Well,
ability.
forget-
yeah, 'cause you
you
lose that mobility because your balance is all.
Oh, yeah. But that you have all this pain, and I assume there was pain involved in this because if she's bent over, then stuff inside is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or the back.
Squished.
Yeah,
Well, her lungs are gonna be
but you
compromised.
forget how bad things were after a while, and you forget to be grateful. You do. You just, oh, yeah, this is the way I feel now, but you forget how bad it was before. So,
Yeah.
with her, yeah, hopefully she remembers.
Remembers, yeah. So the mighty power of God seems to be the point of this passage, describing the story of a freed woman. Yet the healing leads to conflict. The leader of the synagogue is indignant that Jesus would break the basic laws of the Sabbath and heal. He believes there are enough other days in the week for working, including healing. After all, this woman was bound by the illness for 18 years. What difference would one day make? Jesus sees through the hypocrisy. The Sabbath is intended to draw us closer to God. Is that not what happened when this woman was healed? Did she not immediately praise God? There was no doubt this woman connected her healing with God's blessing through Jesus Christ. She was drawn to worship God on the Sabbath with a depth and joy beyond any other Sabbath of her life. The words of the psalmist captures it. You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have taken off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, so that my soul may praise you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever. From Psalm 30, 11 through 12. By the time Jesus finished his speech, the synagogue leaders, they were put to shame. So why could the leaders not rejoice with the woman?
Well, they were so set on the law being broken.
But, being the devil's advocate with those guys, this is the structure that held their culture together. This is the thing they hung everything on. And now someone has challenged it.
Yeah.
And how are they supposed to respond? Because if you challenge it, others will too. There's that worry. It's now that that's happened, now how do we deal with it?
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah. So it's understandable that they're not over the moon over what he's done, but at the same time, they have to realize it's a miracle. I mean, they have to realize that it's
It's a
something
two-edged
extraordinary.
And
Two-edged sword.
Yeah, so they're
doesn't-
just people.
Yeah, and it doesn't help. I think when we think about leaders of the synagogue, we're thinking, learned leaders. But remember, the synagogues were because you weren't near the temple. So these would have been council presidents or council members. These weren't
Yeah,
rabbis who had spent years studying. They just knew the traditions. They knew what they had been taught.
what they've been taught.
But Jesus also got followers from those
Yes.
acts.
Oh, yes. But
So they were probably too, like, wow, this is great, and let's look at this, and oh my gosh, he's doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
The ones by the letter. by
Or
the
I'm
book.
gonna kick over the traces. I'm gonna follow him. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say,
Mhm.
bye-bye, I'm going that way.
Yeah.
And that was also a concern too, because you'd have fewer people to uphold the structure that you have put in place.
There, yeah.
that, and we've seen it here, is how many of us prefer to avoid conflict?
Me, definitely.
Oh,
Just keep
Yeah.
it simple. Don't make conflict. Deal with it tomorrow where we don't have to fight about it.
that's what they were saying.
So it's not like-
Could you wait
yeah.
a day to heal
It's
her?
so it's not like they're bad people.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
they're very human. They're,
Yeah.
in their very humanity, they're struggling. Because can you imagine being there and seeing that? how would you react? How would you react?
I guess I like to follow the rules, and there's so few people, they twist the rules to be
There
what
are.
they want. And yet, I don't think that that's necessarily wrong either. But we put rules to try to have order.
To keep things
And-
safe.
And, well, to keep it simple, yeah, but when there's circumstances that make you break those rules, for example, the kids were talking about driving. None of them, they're sixth graders, they're seventh graders now. They had seventh grade football, they're seventh graders now. And a lot of them have driven. Have they driven on the road? Yes, they're farm boys. But is that right? No. Would they be caught and reprimanded? Most definitely. But there are circumstances that it's maybe the easiest way to get equipment moved from one field that's a mile away, you know,
Believe me,
but it's not right. But I think sometimes rules being broken aren't necessarily, it happens.
Yeah.
But the big ones like don't kill, don't steal, that should never be broken. But then again, I think, what if that intruder, you know, what if they're hurting my family?
Then it gets
Would I,
complicated.
Yes.
I think I would. If someone
And
is hurting my family, I don't think I'd hesitate to
And I have
at
to,
least wound them, maybe not deadly.
and I have to admit, that's one of the things I really like about being an ELCA Lutheran, is we understand the world is not
Grace.
as black as white as we would like it to be.
Grace.
Yeah,
Grace
and that
upon
we have to
grace.
rely on grace because it's not as simple. And that is part of what Jesus is pointing out here is black and white as those synagogue leaders would hope the world and like the world to be. There are times where God's grace needs to come forward when it isn't convenient.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is we don't always want it to come forth when it's not convenient. Okay, now to the word among us. The chemistry teacher believed in rules and loved enforcing them. His parents always thought he'd be a lawyer as much as he believed in rules. Some might describe this teacher as rigid, but he understood himself to be consistent and orderly. Then one day, his favorite student came out from the lab in a panic. He dashed to his teacher to whisper, "Come quickly, I think I invented a bomb." This boy was very cautious, but he thought he made an error, a big error. Now others were at risk. The teacher ran to the lab, turned the corner, glanced at all the bottles, and gave a sigh of relief. All was well. So the teacher let out a big laugh. Even though laughing was against rules in his classroom, he couldn't help himself. He felt such a relief. Calmly, he assured his student of their safety. Eventually, they laughed about the situation, but the teacher admitted that he was scared. He was actually terrified. That one situation led to some deep reflection on his life and his teachings. What if a bomb had been created and destroyed others as well as himself? What did a lot of his rules matter? Did those rules help foster learning in his classroom? Or was he just hiding behind all the rules? So, are all rules necessary? And give examples of rules which might not be unilaterally helpful.
We talked about that a little bit before, but yeah, rules help order.
Mhm.
And I think they are necessary to help us know right and wrong sometimes is the gray area. That isn't an answer necessarily.
Can get very complex. One rule put upon another rule to another rule, and somewhere along the way, the reason for the rule disappears, and you're just stuck with this thing.
Mhm.
And the fact too and I've always thought about this, that you can sit up at the state legislature and you can make rule upon rule upon rule, but they're worthless unless somebody out here where people live enforce it.
Yeah.
I mean, how many things are in the statutes that nobody pays attention to because nobody is out there going, now you remember, you can't.
Now Keith had a perfect example with school.
Oh,
What is necessary for inner city is not necessary for
for rural
Springfield,
America.
Yeah.
for rural America. And that's his biggest concern when he's tried to deal with the current administrator. He won't listen. He won't listen, and he shouldn't. He's from Mankato. He taught there. But it is
It's complicated.
when
It is
you put a rule, like you said, it doesn't apply.
I know that's one of the things that I guess I'll have to read up more on it that came out of our last churchwide assembly is a study statement on how to, for the church to figure out how to fix its fixation on big churches.
That
So
is to be
We're
successful.
forgotten about out in Min,
Well, it's not that we're
To be
forgotten
successful,
about.
you must be big.
No, it's a lot of the stuff that comes out because the people that are going to pay money to make a profit off of it
Okay,
are members of big churches.
okay, okay.
So the focus is on how are you going to make this profitable? How are you going to make the most?
aren't we
Biggest bang.
nonprofit churches?
You still have to be able to.
Well,
keep
you have to
feeding,
function.
You still have to feed your employees.
Yeah, you have to.
You know, how are you going to
function.
get the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
bang for your buck? And your biggest bang for your buck is going where you have the most people.
Yeah.
And so most people, you know, are still in the cities.
So a question for you. Did I hear you say that there were going to be 10 churches that would be coming to the Painted Prairie? Was that a number that I'm making up?
No, there was 2 churches that didn't show up.
Okay, my point is the need for 10 different in our area
Yeah.
of all the same faith.
Yeah.
And we talked about the survival thing.
High Water and Old Westbrook were mentioned, but
Yeah.
I know Pastor
Yeah.
Mike is gone.
Yeah.
And
So we
they
invited them to
came,
come.
they were there, they were
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
friends of mine.
Yeah.
And as far as,
And there was
our
a-
people that came to Painted Prairie, Jean, Bob,
Yes,
Linda, and I,
Yeah.
and Raj were the only ones, and it's usually quite a few
Yeah,
more.
I think the rain. didn't-
But I mean, there was no reason why we couldn't have gone to the
Well,
vineyard.
just the point being, isn't that something that you have 10 different
Mhm.
churches, all the same faith, all ELCA?
No, we had Methodists and we had some
Oh, well, which is
non-denominational.
which is marvelous too. I mean, in such a small area, square miles.
Yeah.
If you figured in square miles,
And that's the other.
you know?
But it, and so, but that's, it's one of the problems is, and so we've had that, the rural urban divide is still there.
Big
And how
time.
do we make sure we work through that?
What Darla was talking about in the education system. If we
Yeah.
try something, if the state mandates you will do this,
Mhm.
and we do, and the test scores turn out skewed to make it look like it's not working in certain parts of the state, then it's gone for everyone.
Yeah.
Because that means if it's not working in a certain part of the state, it's not working anywhere,
Anywhere.
which is not true.
Or I think like when I interviewed here, I still remember one of the questions was how long until you move on to a bigger church?
Oh,
Well, that's the difference is,
had you heard that question before at other places? Really?
well,
Well,
this is my second
that's what
interview.
has
Oh,
happened.
sure, okay.
That's what
Okay.
had happened with our
But-
former pastors,
But you look at
stepping stone.
is if you want to make the big money, you go to the urban churches.
Yeah, sure.
And,
Well, I
and,
think for Pastor Tim, it was more, his family was,
and family is a thing too,
Oh,
which is why
yeah.
I'm here,
and
Well,
that's,
you
Yeah.
know.
Sure, of course. Of course.
that's,
No,
That's
we
the big
understand
draw.
that. Yeah.
But no, but it is true. I mean, one of the things they talk about is male pastors are paid more than female pastors. And part of that is because male pastors tend to be chosen to be pastors at the large urban churches where they pay a lot more. And that number skews.
Oh, sure, okay.
That
I
number.
was wondering where you were going with that.
And then those pastors, because they're in large urban areas where they get to be seen by lots of people, then get to be known by lots of people, then get to become bishops, or they get to become authors.
Oh.
And, they get to be more known. And it just, it's a different world, between urban and rural and how you're seen by everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's not always the rule. The leader of our youth program is an Owatonna. So for the country.
Which isn't that far from becoming a mega complex too.
Yeah, but it's still not
Yeah,
not quite there yet.
I know. But yeah.
So, but it's not a hard and fast rule, but
Well, in putting it in reverse, you talk about the 10 churches that were invited to Painted Prairie, all viable.
Yeah.
All still functioning.
Yeah.
All
And working
still,
together.
yeah. So in that regard, that should be something that's noticed too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
and this is our one. Who gets to decide when there is an exception to the rule? I tell my daughters, I do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, sometimes it's the courts.
Yeah.
Sometimes
When things
it
get
has to be,
contentious, yeah.
or sometimes you have to
I hate to
have
say
a
it.
party in,
Sometimes it's situational ethics. Is that sometimes you just have to look and say,
Yeah.
I don't care about the consequences. I know this is gonna be the best thing to do. I know I been watching Blue Bloods,
Oh,
and they have the youngest son that became a lowly officer. He refused an order from his lieutenant because there was a young child who was injured and who really wanted him to ride in the ambulance because his parents weren't there anymore. And the officer wasn't going to let him. And he said, fire me.
I mean, he did it.
Mhm.
I mean, there are just
Mhm.
times when you look at what is the greater good, and you decide the consequences are
Or
Yeah.
worth it.
are worth it. We see this. I got to go in a little bit. I bought the book. I got the Armchair Bonhoeffer.
Oh,
So I got to read through that or watch the movie again or watch the movie. But, we see Bonhoeffer just debating with this, what point is it worth doing violence in order to protect your neighbor?
when you're put into a situation
Can't
of
imagine.
that, it really does blow the rules.
And it's,
Because then it's how vested you are in a situation to come to a peaceful resolve.
or like I used in my sermon, I don't know if you remember the story from the youth gathering where one of the churches in Texas they wanted to feed the homeless in a park. So they held a Second Amendment rally because it was illegal to feed the homeless. But if they had a gun rally with free food,
Then that
was okay.
Oh,
So they had all their members bring their
That's pretty
firearms to the
sharp.
park.
well, that's pretty sharp. Way to get around it.
Yeah,
It's
get
like-
around it, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you got
But the thing with some of the rules are, at a time, they were put in place that was necessary. So we need to do a better to keep them current.
And that was
And
the
get
other,
rid of the rules that don't make any
that was the other one
sense.
for the new base commander who walked around the base, and he came to a bench and there's 2 soldiers standing beside it and said, what are you guys doing here? Well, these are standing orders. We have to have 2 people standing by this bench every hour, every day.
What's special about the bench?
So he went and asked their sergeant why. Well, it's just been standing orders from the base commander. So he called the last base commander. He said, I don't know why. It was just standing orders when I got there. So he called the previous base commander. He goes, well, I assume the paint would be dry by now.
Oh.
Is he told
That's
two
good.
people to stand there so nobody
Yeah.
would sit on the wet paint, and nobody thought to stop
Question it.
to question it.
No, but it's easier not to. It's easier not to question.
And so yeah, okay. Well, Jesus healed a woman on the Sabbath. He broke the rules in front of the leader of the synagogue. He did not even try to keep it quiet. He blatantly healed a woman who had been ill for 18 long years. As she walked in the synagogue, it was clear her problem had been long in coming. In healing her, Jesus restored her life. She could function with greater ease and comfort. Can you think of any reason not to heal this woman on the Sabbath?
Well, we already said,
Yeah.
I suppose he could have waited till the next day, but why?
Well, it's just downright rude.
Well, it doesn't
You
make
just do
sense.
not interrupt the service.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense to
But, yeah,
wait.
no.
The woman needed healing then. I mean, it wasn't.
No.
What was he going to say? Go home and come back tomorrow. And,
It's like
Well,
having.
she didn't even, he came to her.
yeah.
It's like
He
having.
came to her. It wasn't like she was,
No,
like the lady that touched him in the crowd.
she
Yeah.
didn't.
She came,
She didn't do
she
anything.
didn't do anything. He just was observant enough to know she needed help.
That's the new rule. If somebody passes out in church, we wait till Monday morning to call the ambulance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just do it because it's.
And we've had that a couple of times. We've called ambulances.
Yeah.
Oof,
And did the end justify the means?
absolutely.
That's the one thing I think that's the
Should be the mantra.
no. The
No?
end never justifies the means. I mean, that's the definition of Christianity is the means justifies the end.
Oh, the means. Okay.
Is love. Everything is in love. And this is what Jesus was doing, is out of love. I mean, if we're doing something out of love, that justifies the end. I mean, that's, if you say the end justifies the mean, you can manipulate anything toward.
Well, that's true. But there are situations where
But
I
if,
had, in order for this to happen, I had to do this.
but if you're doing it out of love,
Well, or if you're doing it, what we talked about before,
Good
protecting
Samaritan.
someone.
but
Good
that's out of
Samaritan.
love.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you're
Right,
doing it
everybody-
because
It's
of
just
yes, love of
peanuts.
neighbor.
Peanuts and
But it's out of love for neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
it's keeping in your heart what your end goal is. I mean, that's, it's because it's too easy to walk into thinking, well, if I do this, I can get this.
Oh,
Versus if
Oh.
I do this, this will help them.
Unselfish motives.
Yes.
Unselfish
And that's where the end
motives. Okay.
justifies the mean can too easily
Yeah,
turn into,
okay, all right.
I can get this. And that,
Mhm.
and that's where the ethics, that's where, one of the fine lines there.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas,
I can understand that.
whereas if your goal is always love of neighbor, generally speaking, not always, you'll hold fast to what Jesus teaches. Because otherwise it's too easy to fall into, well, if I do this,
You need that love quotient. You
Yeah.
need that
Mhm.
to make it happen.
we had that a church out east. I still remember the pastor was terminated because he found a way. He was, I think, Assemblies of God or one of those churches where they did an altar call at the end of worship every week. And his church was just growing and growing because every week they had lots of people come up for altar calls. And it found out he was paying everybody to come up.
Oh,
That's kind of what the Chautauqua, that one book we read, remember? That
Oh.
they had,
Yeah.
they had these paid
plants.
people that
Planted.
were,
Yeah.
but there were also some good people in
Yeah.
there that
But
actually
when you
were
get the paid
helped.
people, it makes others want,
Absolutely.
and so it skews everybody.
Mhm.
It's a way to manipulate people. The end
Yeah.
justifies the means,
Yeah.
and that's not,
That's not the teaching that we need.
no. And why did Jesus not wait one more day to heal the woman?
He saw she was in need and he didn't wait.
It's not the loving thing to do.
No.
So once freed, this woman rejoiced. Those aching, constricted muscles were released. Finally, she could stand upright and tall. Finally, she could look at people's eyes rather than their feet. Finally, no wonder she began worshiping God immediately. It was her first response. She had been given new life. What can we learn from this woman who was healed, and what can we learn about Jesus from this story?
Well, he sees to needs even though we don't necessarily know what they are. He's very aware of everything around him. And from the woman, she was living with what she was inflicted, but she still came to the synagogue.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
we know she
was faithful.
had to be a faithful person, or we assume.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we assume she was, especially when she rejoiced with this.
Yeah, you can tell I have too many kids. Well, we're talking, and suddenly Disney stories are going through my head.
Which one?
Finding Nemo, just keep swimming.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
You see her just, she
I
just
love
keeps
that.
going.
I love that.
And then as I'm reading the description of the woman, all of a sudden I'm hearing Robin Williams' voice of him being released from the lamp. Gives you what a crick in the neck.
There was a precious
that joy
soul.
of being released.
Yeah, a troubled soul too.
Yeah. But all of a sudden I'm picturing the woman as, that would be being able to stand
good way to
upright
picture it.
would just.
And Jesus, he's not afraid to go against the grain. He knows that this is not, people are not going to be happy that he's doing what he's doing on the Sabbath. And he understands that people hold to that, and that's tradition.
Well, for me, when I see a kid misbehaving, I don't care if they're my kid, your kid, I will call them on it. And, hey, wait a minute. They may look at me like, who the heck put you on for boss? But I do have a hat now that says boss.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say,
but in a kindly way, I hope to redirect the kid.
But I think Jesus doesn't say it here, but elsewhere he says that the Sabbath was made for man. I mean, that's the amazing thing we get from science is if we don't take a day of rest, our bodies will literally shut down. I mean, that's the amazing thing we've learned from science is if we don't have this day of rest that God put into place, we lose our productivity and our health and our everything else. And we forget that it was made as a gift to us, not as not as a punishment for us.
But like you said too, the Sabbath for just being together and encouraging each other and uplifting and reflection, that's what this Wednesday is for me too. And daily devotions. I mean, they carry you through and help you look to see what God wants you, what he's calling you to do. We're retired people and we just kind of sometimes don't know what to do with ourselves, but God usually finds something for us to do.
There, and very basic thought. There has to be some reason beyond you and I wanting something to do because we have time that has us show up here for Bible study. There has to be.
We kind of like him.
Oh, yeah, we like both of you guys. You're good people.
We kind of
But it has to go beyond that. There has to be something. There has to be something that comes of it that draws people in this.
Yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
I wander around in my thought processes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, let us end with a word of prayer. Loving Lord, free me to dance and rejoice with those who receive your gifts. Help me to see your surprises of grace and daily life. Amen. If you want to dig deeper, read Isaiah 58, 9 through 14. And for the last word, take joy in this day. God be with you.
It's a good one.
Yes.